Well, you've mentioned the B word there, so you've moved us brilliantly on to our first pillar. So, the Building Bliss podcast is founded on the 5 pillars of bliss, which are bravery, laughter, inspiration, spark, and success. So, starting with the B for bravery, can you pick out one moment in your life that you think you're bravest?
Ooh, that I'm braver or that I've shown bravery, I would guess is the question.
It's up to you how you interpret it, because I think a lot of people who are on the podcast have thought in the moment they didn't consider themselves as being brave, but when they look back, they actually realise it was a very brave thing or a brave decision that they actually took.
Yeah, I would guess one of my pivotal challenges was when I came out of recovery. When I came into recovery, sorry, and I'd kept everything from all of my clients. I'd never told any of my clients, obviously, what I'd gone through, etc. And I obviously used to socialize a lot with work and client events and taking clients out, and everything was quite centered around alcohol, etc. So I made a very conscious decision that I was going to email all of my clients and tell them all exactly what had happened, and that I am an alcoholic, and that have had a tough time, and that I'm in recovery myself now. Um, and that was a very scary thought and a very scary process to have to go through, to have to reach out to anybody and everybody that you had ever done work for, and to hold your hand up and say I'm an alcoholic, and to worry about what other people's perception would be, and if people would not use me anymore, if people would, basically what they'd think of me, and all those processes that go through your mind. um, and I had to get comfortable with myself and say, listen, if somebody doesn't use me because of what I've been through in my life or the dark times that I've had, that's okay. That's their choice, and I'm not going to
Mm.
judge anybody else. I've just got to do what's right for me, and what was right for me was being honest. But it took some bravery to do it. It took some bravery to face up to the fear or the worry as to what somebody else would think. Um, but I faced it head on, and I heard a great quote the other day that, if you're having a tough time or going through it, then just keep going, run straight through it, go straight through it, face it
Mm.
head on, and just keep going. And I really truly believe that. And I just faced the scary bit about it head on. I took the power away by opening up and being transparent. And I'll be honest, I got some amazing messages of support and feedback from various different clients, and a lot of love came back. A lot of love came back and support, and it was very touching. But it was hard. It was a hard decision to get to be honest and put your hands up and be vulnerable and to tell people. Um, so yeah, I would say that was probably a moment where I had to be brave, but it actually paid dividends, and it helped me as well.
Yeah. Well, that is a really brave thing to do, because especially in the legal world, everything's very reputational. It's very, how you look, how people think of you, especially I'll call it the LinkedIn effect as
Yeah,
well, of
yeah, yeah,
presenting yourself a certain way. And yeah, it's terrifying, isn't it? I mean, I had to do something similar, not to that extent, but my mum was seriously ill and looked like she was on a deathbed last year. She's still here as it happens, but I just completely lost it, because it'd been over many years. And I had to actually, for the first time, say to my clients, look, I just can't work at the moment. My mind is not here. I'm not going to be serving you. But it took a lot of bravery to do it. But obviously, then if you've got decent people you work with, you get a lot of love back, and you realise that if we all did that a bit more, it'd take a lot of pressure off us, wouldn't it?
yeah, exactly. And it's all about realizing what you need. I believe what I needed at the time, and I needed to be open. I needed to be
Mm.
honest because I live my life by an honest program now of being open and honest. And it was what I needed because I needed to be open and tell people so that I didn't have to hide away anymore. I didn't have to run away. I didn't have anything that was still hanging over me. That transparency of just being able to accept and tell everybody, tell the world effectively. Um, it meant that I didn't have anything to fear anymore. I didn't have anything to fear because I was accepting that was me, and that is what I'd gone through. And whether you want to judge me or you don't want to judge me, or you want to do whatever, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It almost took the power away from it by being honest and facing it.
Yeah, because it's almost, especially when you've had a life that's centered on alcohol, you tend to have a bit of a double life.
Of
And
course, yeah,
which you've said, you're presenting one to the outside, this on the inside, and that openness actually gets rid of that double life effect, doesn't it? I guess.
yeah, because then clients aren't going to be asking me to go for a boozy lunch.
Yeah, yeah. Can you come to the races and
Yeah,
drink all
do you
day?
want to
No.
come to? Oh, I'll still go to the races, but I'm not drinking.
Mm,
But I don't need to justify it every single time. Then do I? I don't need to basically explain why I'm not drinking. I don't need to be sat around with people and people going, oh, go on, have one, and I'm going, no, no, I can't. And it's like it's out there. Everybody knows, and I've got nothing to fear anymore.
yeah. Well, I talk about I'm a stand-up comedian as well, and I talk about this in my comedy, and I say, like, it's the only drug that people will go, oh, go on, just have one. You're like, you think, well, if I was a heroin addict, would they be like, well, there you go, just have a syringe, it won't do any harm.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
it's that's how embedded it is in society that people think just have one, and a lot of it's because they feel bad. I think that it's a reflection on their drinking. If you say you're not drinking, I don't know if you find that when you talk to people.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Everyone, and I think as well, once you've had a couple of drinks, it's a mind-altering substance at the end of the day. You know, and
Mm,
I always say that once people have had a few drinks and they're a bit intoxicated, you're not the same. You're not your authentic self. Whether you can handle your drink or not, you still have something in your system that changes you slightly. However it changes,
mm,
and it changes each different person in a different way. Some people are happy
yeah,
drunks, some people are angry drunks, some people are sad drunks, and it's a drug. It's a mind altering substance, and I guess that's we have to accept that when you put something in, just like when you take drugs, it's a mind altering substance. They're all the same. It affects different people in different ways.
mm. Well, it's even the same with caffeine, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
drug
one
that
million
most
percent.
people are
One. Yeah.
highly dependent on as well. So, yeah. So, have you got bravery as you've got older then? Because it sounds, if you were entrepreneurial, it sounds that you were probably quite willing to take a risk with certain things.
Yeah. I've always been um, quite risk taker. I've always been quite a risk taker. I've always,
Mm,
backed myself to, and I'll always do something and I'll do my best to make it work and, have that self belief that I can do it. Yeah, definitely. Um, I've always been quite risk. Yeah, I will always take some risks.
yeah, it's in your nature.
It is in my nature, definitely. It is in my
Yeah,
nature. Yeah.
yeah, I love that.